on the air, so don't say any F's and stuff.
But I have to put her on the side and worry about the boys because they're still here.
Oh, nobody's.
You're not a cop.
No, you're.
Think I don't love my daughter or some shit, like you're holier than now or something?
There is no investigation.
What's up? Good to see you. Welcome to the lab. Got a great show for you. Good to see you. Good to be here. I hope everybody is live from the MBD Production Studios. You're in the lab with your host, Joshua Diaz. Surviving the heat.
There is no investigation. This boy has.
There is not, really?
This
Wow,
young man.
It is to me.
You know, I'm going to change the... I'm actually going to change the title a little bit. The black eye thing is really dominating, and it's very inconsequential to the show overall, but I will talk about it a little bit because I do have something to say about it. And I think that, you know, like I'll discuss it. I have no problem discussing it, but people are getting hung up on it. And I know, let me see. What do you mean you can barely hear? How does it, does it sound good? I mean, my fader looks good. How's the sound? Anybody want to? All right, cool. Beautiful. I mean, I could turn up my mic. I don't necessarily want to, but I suppose maybe a little. I'll do just a little bit. Is that any better? Okay, great, whatever. Okay, cool. Anyway, it's fine. Just turn up your TV or whatever it is. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, a lot of people, we're all getting hung up on this black eye thing. And we will talk about it because I think that it has something to do with just the overall, not only optics, but everything else kind of surrounding this case. Now, I've went to some lengths, not a lot, but some. Hold on. Change. Sorry. I'm sorry that I had to put slow mode on. I really am. And let me just welcome Hair Curlers and Crimes, YouTube member. Thank you so much. The Real Rockin' Robin became a YouTube member. Thank you so much as well. And Tammy Hill. Appreciate it. But anyway, I hope everybody that is in the way of the storms is doing okay. I hope everybody's had a great weekend. Let's just really get into the meat and potatoes of tonight. Now, I can't say why, and I won't say why I have this feeling, but I have this feeling that we are turning kind of kind of coming around a bend here. And while I don't have a timeline on anything, I do feel that things are progressing. And I don't just say that willy-nilly. I mean, there's stuff to me that indicates that that's happening, that the behavior of Don and Candace, is they're laying low, but they're not, but they are, but they aren't, and I know like there's this whole speculation of, Candace does have a black eye. From what I can tell, it looks like it's a black eye, and none of us know what it's from. So to accuse Dawn of doing it may actually, not that, who cares about being fair to him, but it really isn't fair. We don't know. But I mean, things happen, especially with Dawn and Candace. And, I'll just take Candace's word for it that it was an accident. She said that she either got hurt while playing with the grandkids or she fell. Candace, if you happen to catch this, or if anybody over on the farm happens to hear this, will you please inform Candace that if anything like that is going on, if she's been harmed by anybody in her immediate presence, to please turn them in. You don't need to deal with that. Okay. And I don't know exactly what that is, but if that's true, if somebody did, I really hope that you don't sit on it this time. So whatever, but she's a grown woman. I really hope that that's not the case. And, but yeah, she needs to do something about it. Oh yeah. I hope they turn them both in for all I care. I mean, I really don't care, but, that much anyway. So here's the thing. Here's some key things that I want to go over. And towards the end of the show, what we're going to talk about is those ever elusive phone records. I did a little digging, and I just looking at all the inconsistencies that are going on with Dawn and Candace in this case. And there are many substantial ones, not just little kind of odd things. I mean, we're missing a ton of stuff, like the most, and it's just not normal. Now, everybody knows that in this case, nothing's normal. That has been established ad nauseum. Okay. So let's check this out. So this right here is a timeline. And by the way, this is obviously subject to change. But this is about as close as I thought that I could get without, I don't know. This is just as close as I thought we could get. Okay. So at 6:10, according to Candace, and none of this, like I said, none of this is official on the record stuff. I don't know. Now, I don't know if what law enforcement has been told, but these are the statements that have been said over and over and over by Dawn and Candace themselves. However, none of them make sense. Okay, 6:10. Summer was last seen, let's see here, going into the house at 6:10. And at 6:12, they couldn't find her anymore. I don't know why it says later found missing. She was not found. She's just missing. 6:22, a 10-minute search. 10-minute search, then Candace to Dawn. So he calls, or she calls him at 6:22. Dawn says he packs up and gets on the road. Dawn calls at 6:26. Candace supposedly, according to this one, called after. I don't know. I don't even know if Candace ever called. I don't know. I believe Dawn did, but who knows? Okay. Law enforcement arrives, and then let me get rid of that at the very bottom here. Law enforcement arrives, and apparently 3 minutes later, Dawn arrives as well. Okay, so that's the story. But here's Candace's timeline of earlier on in the day. Candace's timeline, the early afternoon of June 15th, 12:33, dropped off prescriptions and began driving to Horse Pond. Now, hang in there, because at the end, we're going to tie this all together, talking about the times and then with the phones. And one of the biggest lies that we've been fed, I believe it's a lie, by Don himself. And there's many lies, but or discrepancies. Let's talk about the discrepancies, because there are discrepancies, and that's a fact. 12:33, drops prescription and begins to drive to the Horse Pond. 12:53, arrives at Horse Pond. 1:13, leaves Horse Pond. 1:33, picks up prescription. An hour shopping and visit at Sonic. Drops off Hunter at 2:30. 3:09, allegedly the last photo is taken. And between 3:15 and 3:19, they arrive home. So think about that just a little bit. Okay, so that is the prequel to, or the preamble to what happened. And my favorite photo of Dawn of all time. He looks good. I love it. It's a beautiful photo. All right. So let's dig into that here a little bit. Don's statement that he called at around 3, that Candace was in the line at Walgreens when he called, is inconsistent. And the prescription was picked up at 1:33, and they had already been to the swimming hole. And if Dawn really rang at around 3 p.m., Candace, her mother, and Summer would have already been on their way home. And if he had rang when they dropped off the prescription, that would have been around 12:30. Could Dawn have mistaken the time by so much? I don't think so. That is a timeline that jumps everywhere. It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. It seems as though, I just have no clue how somebody's that far off on their timelines. Not just one person, not just two people, but 3. Actually 4, because I believe Hunter's off as well. These gaps started earlier in the day. And as they're kind of called out on this stuff, what happens is they kind of do the revisionist dance. And I believe that they were talking much earlier in the day, because if that is the case, Dawn called when Hunter was around, and then he inappropriately looks through Candace's phone. And we could talk about that weird situation another day, and maybe we will. But that, he shouldn't be going through her phone. She shouldn't be allowing it. They shouldn't have that kind of a relationship, so on and so on and so on and so on. Okay. So Dawn has stated to both Chris McDonough, the behavioral panel, that Summer went missing at 5:30, and it doesn't match the time frame working back from the dispatch, spelled wrong, call and the parents' statements. An estimate of when Summer was last seen would be closer to, well, I left it blank because I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. I wish I did, but I don't. Now, one of the worst things, and there's a lot of this is for a lot of people that are new coming into this case. I know that there is a propaganda machine out there turning its wheels as hard as it can, trying to get you to not listen to the facts. And I'm giving you facts right now. I'm not giving you opinions. I'm giving you what's out there. Now, if you have a problem with the time discrepancies, if you have a problem with the timeline, take it up with Dawn and Candace, okay? Because right here will tell you all you need to know about this case. Time apparently was not a factor. Candace's first interview was with WJHL, and it was on the 29th of June, 2 weeks after Summer disappeared. How does that happen? Why does that happen? How could somebody in their right mind think that waiting 2 weeks is going to be beneficial to finding their child that was allegedly abducted? It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. And you know, if you are a Dawn and Candace supporter, God bless you. But that's a question. I mean, was she and tell me, she's so distraught that she couldn't beg for her child's life? Oh, I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. It's just their time was not a factor for her. She had no urgency whatsoever. Now, don't think that there is no evidence, because there is circumstantial evidence, and a lot of these things are circumstantial. There's no doubt that they are circumstantial. But circumstantial evidence is just as good as physical evidence under the law. You take a bunch of situations, and what you can perceive from all of them is what's logical and what's not. Prosecutors will have a field day with this kind of stuff. Dawn and Candace should have been on the news, if not that night, the next day, begging for Summer. And one thing that we get hit with all the time is the lie detectors. Did they pass? Are they cleared? Yada, yada. You can remember that old Seinfeld episode when Elaine was saying yada, yada all the time? Well, that's kind of what this is. But let me see. What's this one? So this is Dawn just less than a month after Summer's disappearance, talking about, you guessed it, the lie detectors. The lie detectors that don't mean anything to anybody, not even Dawn. He'll tell you that it means something, but holy crap, here we are. I don't know if we're completely cleared, because that's not admissible in court. Dawn absolutely knows that. He knew that from the get-go. He's known that from the beginning. And guess what? He's not cleared. And we know this. we know this. Don himself, 1 month after Summer goes missing, states to the news, and by the way, he stated many other things to me before. He's actually cussed me out left and right saying, we're cleared. We passed lie detectors. We did this and we did that and we did this and we did that. Don, in his own words. Now, as time went on and time has gone on, the story has absolutely evolved, because now it's, we've passed lie detector tests. We've done this. We've done that. Great. Okay. That's awesome. But then again, in this same article, Don talks about Candace had to wait 5 days. He had to wait 2 days because they were both so upset that they couldn't take a polygraph test. And then when they did, he says they passed, but he doesn't know if we're completely cleared because that's not admissible in court. Now, one of my major frustrations with this case is obviously, and I have no right to feel this way, I just do, what I feel is a slow moving investigation, but that's pretty normal. I just have seen other cases similar to this that parents get jammed up on neglect charges. Now, I know that they are in the system and stuff like that. But one of the things that is so frustrating about this case is the mockery that Don and Candace make of the case. And they mock law enforcement, and they have been since the beginning. They have been mocking law enforcement. It was so horrific knowing that somebody abducted her and the cops are looking all around our house knowing that she's not there. Well, how would the cops know that? They're going to just take Don Wells's word for it? Of course not. Why would they take Don Wells's word for it? It's not really worth much. And the fact that they sit there and rail against the CPS system, they rail against CPS, the courts. They're constantly saying things about them. They have nothing. They didn't do this right. They didn't do that right. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. Well, not only did they do this whole dog and pony show, because they did, and we can even talk, I remember reading something about the law enforcement saying, yeah, the dogs were there when we got there, but he complained about the way that they handled the investigation. Don has been complaining about CPS, the ones that took the children out of hell. And by the way, I am wondering, the supporters, and this includes Tim Mullen. Tim Mullen, if you're listening, you old dirtbag, do you really think that Don and Candace should be in custody of any children at all? And all they have done is railed about how bad and how corrupt law enforcement is and how corrupt CPS is. When they had to physically come in and say, hey, you can't have these children here. Now, I think that part of it was just obviously the living conditions, but I also think it has to do with the investigation. I really do. I truly feel that they came in and are like, dude, we can't let these kids be around them anymore. The investigation's heading in a different way. We need to know what they know. That's That's my take on that situation. All right. And I'll get to this right here in a second, but and the fact of the matter is the 911 call or calls are still out there, haven't been heard by the public, and probably won't until, and it's so good to see you, Mary. I'm glad, and I really do hope you're feeling better. Sending great love or good thoughts and love your way. And Annette Thompson, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it very much. So one of the major lies, well, I think it's a major lie, and I'll get to it. It just is this whole phone data thing, the magical disappearance. And this is really, really where the rubber meets the road to me, because they have talked so much about their phones and everything being wiped off of their phones from 3:30 on. And I never understood why they would constantly say that. Dawn was just constantly saying, constantly, from 3:30 on, our phones were deleted. Well, look at the original timeline. From 3:30 on, Dawn claims that not only his phone, but Candace's and Grandis's, and I don't believe, and if anybody can correct me on this or not, I don't think that Hunter ever got his phone back, which is law enforcement's right. But they're talking about, oh, well, why was our stuff deleted? And if you go back to when everything was going down with law enforcement, look, there's activity much earlier in the day. There's deception much earlier in the day. Much earlier in the day. But there's also deception at the end of the day. Okay, but the deception did start early. Now, we can get into all the technicalities of, well, if there were cadaver dogs there and if Summer had passed away at the house, they would have hit or whatever. And I don't know. Maybe so. I'm not an expert on almost anything, like almost nothing at all. That's true. But, when something doesn't add up, I mean, it just flat out doesn't add up. Now, I've asked others that have been under investigation or when their child goes missing, if in fact their phones were seized. And 99% of the time, that's the case. Their phones absolutely do get seized. And Gail, thank you so much for that. And gifting a membership as well. It's very sweet of you. Yeah, there's something rotten in Denmark. And a great comment here. I have a better timeline of when I lost my wallet than these parents do with their lost daughter. Well, I would agree with that. I mean, I've certainly looked really hard for a lost wallet. I have. And I never found it. But every after the initial rush of searching, you're like, oh man, let me just go back and look again and again and again. So why would they say that why would Dawn say, not anybody, well, why Dawn? Well, I'll tell you why. Because it's a lie. I'm almost positive that Dawn is lying about this because I went looking for circumstances where law enforcement would do that. Why would they do that? Why? And a memo that was issued December 24th of 2013 by the Department of Justice. Once police have seized a device, they are prohibited under any circumstances from damaging or erasing the contents of that device. And that comes from the Department of Justice itself. It's a lie. They're lying. He's lying about this because they're not allowed to do that. Nobody, no law enforcement official is allowed to get rid of any of it. And I would wonder and want to ask Dawn if you know, he makes himself available for a comment. I'm sure that he won't. But Dawn, I can show you the memo personally. And isn't it convenient? Oh my God, I'm right over Candace. Isn't it convenient that between 3:15 and 3:19 when they got home, that Dawn claims that his phone was wiped? They won't do that. They're not allowed to do it. They've never been allowed to do it. 2013. They can take your data, they can copy it, but under no circumstances are they allowed to do anything other than copy it. Dawn has said one of the craziest things I've ever heard a parent of a missing child say, specifically just a few weeks after. And in most situations, everybody would want to keep the faith. Keep the faith. Statistically speaking, there's a good chance she's already dead. I hate to think that. I love her with all my heart. If nothing else, I'll see her in the resurrection again. Well, I'll tell you this. When it comes to my children, I don't want them to be a statistic. I don't want them to fall into that percentile, especially 3 weeks after. And if you think that she's kidnapped, then there's a good chance 3 weeks later, I don't know what it is. I don't think they ever got their phones back. And that's kind of where I'm saying. I really don't think that they got their phones back. Josh, congratulations on 20,000 subscribers. Wink at me. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's right. 20,000 strong now. That's awesome. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. 20,000. I don't know if he was saying it the same day. It wouldn't surprise me if he was. He probably was. I know that, as far as I know, that Hunter still has not got his phone back. And I would be shocked if Don and Candace actually got their original phones back. Don will tell you that they have, but who knows if they really have or not. But what I'm telling you is they would never do this. Why lie about that? I don't know. And another thing that I really have, and I'm sure somebody has an explanation for it, and that would put my mind at ease. Who was it that gave the photo to Candace? I've heard that it was, or not, excuse me, for the Amber Alert. I've heard that it could have been an agent off of Facebook. I've heard. I don't know that to be the case. I don't know if that's true or not. But where did they get the information that she was 4 years old? Where did they get the information that she had long hair when she didn't? So it's baffling to me, absolutely baffling to me, that there's so much. There is not one fact that isn't shrouded in either secrecy or misdirection, manipulation. I don't know. All I know is that Candace and Dawn have major problems when it comes to the timeline. And coincidentally, Dawn wants to go quiet right now. He's quiet. Why? Because I think that is something that, I mean, if they really did delete their phones, which I don't believe they did, then guess what? You probably have a case. You might be able to sue the Justice Department. But I don't think they did. I just don't think that they did. Let's see. Where'd Love America's comment go? Love America, you've been a member for 10 months. Thank you so much for being a member for 10 months. Take a look here. Now, like I said, I get it. I get that people want to defend parents of a missing child because, and by the way, I don't think that is a wrong thing to do. I think that that's a completely normal thing to want to do. But I hear other people bringing up Dawn and Candace and Brandy and Tyler in the same sentence, and they don't even play. They're not even in the same. They're not even in the same ballpark. They're not even playing the same sport. They're not even in the same hemisphere. So, you know, you can tell that there are differences. Let's see. Butterfly kisses. Wrong one. Minnesota girl, good to see you. How are you? Maybe practicing Miranda rights? Probably not. Probably not. I wouldn't think so. I mean, maybe. But I'm telling you that, you know, look, they want this to go away. They want us to stop talking about it. The defenders want us to stop talking about it. And trust me, I have been sort of kind of not away from the case, but sort of just observing what's going on. And it's just a complete mess. There are so many storms that have spawned from this hurricane. lies, deceit, ended friendships, started the whole thing is just so ridiculous. And I got to tell you, in my heart, sometimes I really do feel upset that these two get to run around and do what they want and act the way that they want for so long. It is so frustrating to me, and I get it. I understand these things take a long time. I'm just sharing with you how frustrating it feels because I've seen it before with other cases. Now, I don't know the intricate details of this case, but there are so many things I feel that they could have rung them up on besides a DUI, probation, and Candace is out there just whittling on a front porch somewhere. It just bothers me. And I wish it didn't, but it does. And it probably shouldn't, and I should probably be more, respectful of that. But I think that I, along with a lot of other people, do share those thoughts. I just don't understand how they're allowed to just do whatever they want. State to state, drugs, alcohol, all that stuff is happening, by the way. That's the truth. And it's crazy to me. Let me see here. Yeah. Melissa, thank you so much for your super chat. What about the phone? Candace said she had not turned in when interviewed by CM at the lake. Who knows how many burners they had. So glad to have you back, Josh. Thank you so much, Melissa. I think so as well. Why exactly why had she not done that? Did she have a lot of other stuff to do that day? I mean, that really does take the cake, don't you think? Not turning over stuff that law enforcement, where the hell am I? God. I got to really do better on I got to do better on these things. I'm tiny. But the funny, I don't think it's funny at all, is so then you go back to that day when Don's saying, hey, look, the dogs weren't here. They were blah, 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 blah. And then law enforcement says, yeah, they were there. And it seems as though they caused a problem for the search dogs. Because Don was confronted with this whole, guess what? The dogs all took a vacation that day. Law enforcement was like, there were dogs there when we got there? Because there's no way anybody walks up on that property where they don't bark. And every single person that I've talked to that has went up there says the same exact thing. And I'll tell you, the reason I think that Don is quiet is because I think he knows that something's coming down the pike. He has now introverted once again Candace is complaining that they're not getting along. She just so happens to have a black eye, apparently, with a swollen face that she either got from falling down or getting kicked by one of her step grandchildren, I guess. Why they're around kids, I have no idea. I have no idea why that would happen. Probably, yeah. Somebody's giving Dawn advice to keep quiet, and fair enough. Like, it's probably good advice, but the thing is, he's running. They're running out of everything. They're running out of time. They're running out of stories. They're running out of supporters. They're running out of everything. I mean, they've been hauled back into the state, specifically Dawn. According to, I don't know, maybe that's not even true. Who knows what the hell Dawn? He had Dawn and Cher back together. If that's true, that's insane. Well, Tim isn't quiet at all. She's mad he is talking to Cher. I heard that as well. Yeah, I got to tell you that I do find it pretty unbelievable that they're allowed, like anybody that's giving them advice that's not their lawyer like that is it's kind of weird to me. But I don't do I know any? I don't know. Yeah, Tim now. Yeah. Katrina says Timmy's desperate, so desperate, he's even tweeting. Yeah, he's tweeting under the assumption that it's Dawn tweeting. But once again, Tim is acting like these are his children, that he wants his children back, that he wants to tell these kids, I love you. I'm sure it has nothing to do with what have you told. I'm sure it has nothing to do with that. Who met with Ellie when they got to the house if Don showed up after and Candace wouldn't come out? I don't know. I mean, that's a great question. Once again, Don says that he got there before the police. Then he says he didn't get there before the police. Then he says it was bottlenecked and, so on and so forth. And by the way, Tim, if at any time you do want to come on and explain, and I'll be fair, and I'm sure the chat will love you and say super nice things about you. That, I am curious why you're so adamant about those boys being returned to a situation that even Dawn clearly says wasn't a good situation. Not a good situation. And now you're telling us that the boys deserve to be home. Look, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If Summer Wells is found alive, and God, let's hope that will be the case. But, statistically speaking, according to Don, and by the way, I would agree with him at this juncture, but probably not this early on. I probably wouldn't have been into that mode as much. Okay. But guess what? If Summer is found alive, she's not going back to Dawn and Candace. There's no way. There is absolutely no chance that happens. They don't even have the ones that are accounted for. She's not coming back to Dawn and Candace. So while I believe that Dawn and Candace have the answers that people are looking for, they're not going to get Summer back ever. And I do not believe that they'll get those boys back. And I don't know why Tim thinks that it's appropriate for him to criticize a stretched out agency that has issues of its own, but there are really great people. Most of the people that work for CPS are great people. They're just overworked, overstretched. And for you to say and criticize them when you sack ride Dawn like nobody's business. And I heard you guys' little 3-day podcast. It was the crappiest thing I'd ever heard. It's what I refer to as horse skis, shit skis. I hate it. It was stupid. And Dawn and Tim wanted to clear up all the things that Dawn was saying, not the things. Tim had nothing to say other than, Dawn, well, isn't this the reason you said this? And isn't this the reason that you said that? I have no idea why Tim thinks that it's necessary for him to insert his creepy ass in between Dawn and Candace and CPS. It's highly inappropriate. It's not just inappropriate, it's highly inappropriate. What are the qualifications that you have, Tim, that say that those kids should go back when indeed a judge signed off on the children being taken? We're kind of tired of your posts, dude. They suck. And don't talk about how bagging on the parents is outdated. No, trust me, it's not outdated. It's fully fresh, and it's Yeezy season when it comes to bagging on people that tell lies like that, especially when it comes to a little kid that has been missing for 2 years. We are right in the middle. It's perfect timing. It's fashionable. Say whatever you want. Outdated. Shove it. You're seriously like just crazy with your little social media. I hate your website, by the way. It sucks. Yeah, they talk exactly, Gail. Exactly right. They chat about CPS taking the kids for profit. I mean, whatever. But Dawn and Candace, I don't know. I got to ask you, Dawn, why are you so comfortable with Tim Mullen white knighting for you to get your children back? That should be you. I would respect you doing it, but you don't do it. I would understand you doing it, but you don't do it. You don't. Tim does. Why? I have no idea. Doesn't seem like that's his fight to take on, but he sure acts like it. He sure acts like they're his children, and he's got an axe to grind. And a movie came out that he was so tickled by this movie. I haven't seen it. I'm sure it's a great movie. I know that trafficking is a terrible, terrible issue. But Tim, a movie didn't need to tell me that. That's something that's been known for a long, long time. By the way, it's a movie. All right. They have real documentaries about it. Why don't you talk about some of those? They have great documentaries about it. Tim, man, like I said, Josh, your posts suck. They suck. And they suck bad. He is a wannabe historian. That's true, too. Timmy posted again about Amber families. Yeah, Amber Alert families aren't a thing. And it's because statistically speaking, It's usually the parents or some sort of family member that is doing the bad deeds. There's never been an Amber Alert family. There'll never be an Amber Alert family. It's really funny to me that an American purist, which is what I figure Tim is, wants to take advice or wants to mimic other nations about how they treat suspects in missing children's cases. I find that funny. I find that absolutely hilarious. This is America. Remember, he goes, "This is America, but we should do it the way that Britain does it." Like, okay, all right. Well, which way is it? Yeah, I mean, shoot. Yes, I think we should do it the way they used to do in the Old West. They would hang you for stealing a horse. A horse. They would absolutely hang you for that. Yeah, Tim died. So there's something, the elevator doesn't go all the way to the top. I know that. And I don't even know how far to the top the building goes. All I know is that it's probably a 2-story building with an elevator in the basement that maybe goes to the first floor. Sometimes, some days. That's just me. Yeah. Yeah, I did. I said Tim's sack riding Dawn. I did say that. That was wrong of me to say. I shouldn't have said that. Stuck at the lobby. It's stuck in the basement, the laundry room. But yeah, it's not a skyscraper. I'll tell you that right now. I know it's not a skyscraper. I'm thinking it's more like a shed. You know what I mean? A shed. You get it? A shed. A 2-story shed with the roof blown off. Idiots. Both of them. I can't believe that those guys somehow managed to travel all the way to California and back and keep all their extremities. Yeah, it's a shed. Or a bus. Yeah, it's a 2-story bus. And I guarantee you that they stuck out like a sore thumb in California. I love that Josh sack riding. Yeah, he's a sack rider. That's what, for some reason, Tim is like overly fascinated with Dawn. I know for a fact that Candace does not like Tim. And I can't imagine that Tim's too fond of Candace. Shocker. But check this out. I know for some reason there was a sort of a little exchange that Timothy and I had quite some time ago, where when I was talking to him about Dawn, and it was, I don't know, he just kind of replies with this smart ass stuff. But what he said was, he says to me, "I think that you have your buggy stuck in the mud when it comes to Dawn." And I said, "Okay, well, what about Candace?" And then he says, "I will not speak on her because that is Dawn's wife." He didn't say that she was stuck in the mud with her. No, he never mentioned that. He never mentioned mud, stuck, buggy, nothing when it came to her. Dawn, he did. He came right to his side. "I love you, Dawn. I love you. I'm so happy." Yeah, that's what he said. Buggy stuck in. I don't even have a buggy. I don't know what kind of a buggy. It's not the Oregon Trail. That's how old Tim is. Matter of fact, I heard that Tim's favorite race car driver is Ben-Hur. Yeah, he really did. He put it right on. He was like, "I'm not talking. I will not talk about another man's wife." Yeah, I know the Ben-Hur joke. That was mean. I know. Maybe he thinks you're Amish, Josh. Maybe. Sometimes I lose hope they will ever be held accountable. I understand. I understand that feeling. I certainly do. But I still don't feel that way. I'm frustrated about some things. There's no doubt that I'm frustrated about a few different things. And one of them being that Don and Candace get to just parlay around wherever they want to go, whatever they want to do, knowing that they've committed crimes enough to have their children taken. Don, for some reason, I don't know. I mean, the guy literally is in jail more than a CO that's worked 40 years in prison. How he gets away with the stuff that he does, I don't know. But like I said, Tim, if you are interested and you're the spokesperson for Don and Candace, please feel free to come on this show and I'll give you the floor and you can tell us why we're wrong about how we feel, or specifically me, because there are people that are watching this right now that think that I'm wrong, that my stance is wrong. But look at the screen. It tells you everything you need to know. Time has never been a factor for them. Never. Never. Candace's first interview with WJHL was on the 29th of June. Summer went missing June 15th. 2 weeks after. The phones. Well, it's illegal, Don. It's illegal. You can't do it. Not allowed to do it. Did you keep the faith? Statistically speaking, there's a good chance she's already dead. Kind of a parent says that. A realist or somebody that has intimate details of what happened. Trying to kind of get people to move on. Well, look, guys, statistically speaking, there's a good chance she's already dead. But thank you so much for showing up. That's what I take from it. Don, I am curious to know why you have told people for 2 years that law enforcement wiped your phone from 3:30 on that day. Did they ever even give you your phone back? Because if they did, it's against the law issued by the Department of Justice that they're not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to do that. So you've answered everything else. That's just a question. I'm sure you're done talking because you know kind of what's going on. And you and I both know we know what's going on. That's why I've been blocked seven ways to Sunday by Don. And every time we have a conversation, I get blocked again. And guess what? He doesn't block anybody, just me. Because I've presented him with some things that he wasn't too pumped about, that I am not allowed, or I don't know if I am, I just won't. But he's avoiding me. He'll always avoid me until this is over. And then, like I said, if he, and my offer stands, Don, I will get you on a every 6 month commissary of tidy whities. If you just confess, you will never worry about underwear again. Now, they're going to be the cheap ones. They may even be able to be see-through. But I'm just saying, that offer stands. You get the discount. You get the discount stuff, the little bargain. The little bargain chonies. case you have a blowout, you know, you get a pack, you get like, I think like 6 come in a pack. I'll get you 3 packs every 6 months, and you can blow your underwear out as much as you want. You guys have a good night. Thank you for being here. I appreciate all
We're
of
live
you.
on the air, so don't say any F's and stuff.
But I have to put her on the side and worry about the boys because they're still here.
Thank you so much for the new
nobody's-
members.
You're not a cop.
No.
Thank you
no,
so
you're-
much. Thank you for the super stickers, the chats, the members, hair curlers and crime, Real Rock and Robin,
Think
Tammy.
I don't love my daughter
Good to
or
see
some
you.
shit like you're holier than now or something.
Mary. Love you, Mary. Good to see you. Annette. Gail.
There is no investigation.
Wink at me. Thank you so much. Melissa. I always. Yulva. Is that right? I don't know how to pronounce your name. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm making another push. Making another run at them. I'm sure Don will be happy to hear that. There's more. We got more coming, folks. Thank you so much. Live from the MBD Production Studios, you're in the lab with your host, Joshua Diaz.
There is no investigation. This boy
There
has.
is not, really?
This
Wow,
young man.
It is to me.